And now we are ready for today's message. I'd like to introduce our speaker, Will Davis. He's a native Floridian and a descendant from the Choctaw tribe. He has lived most of his life here. He served in the U.S. Air Force from 1966 to 1970. He was a mental health counselor for over 30 years. He was also the spiritual leader for a company for 15 years. Will's spiritual journey began around 1970 after a series of events caused him to question the status quo of most religions. He returned to the ways of his native ancestors. He was introduced to Buddhism while visiting India at this same time and has practiced Buddhism since. Will is a seminary graduate and an artist and a writer. He writes a blog called Walking with Wisdom and has over 30,000 followers worldwide. He will share some of those musings with us today. So please welcome Will Davis.
And so I'm just going to have to hit the clicker. Good morning. I get asked by the Native community all the time, how can you be Native and Buddhist at the same time? And then I get asked by the Buddhist community, how can you be Buddhist and Native at the same time? And I'm going, easy. First of all, Buddhism is not a religion. Buddha was not a god. It's a philosophy. It's a discipline, if you will. Being Native is what I am genetically. There's nothing I can do about that. But I also appreciate the Native ideology about things. The way the Native mind and the Native spirit approaches things is very different, I think, than mainstream America or mainstream European. And we have this whole different aspect on our relationship to the greater environment. There's no word in my language for religion. There's no word in my language for hope. There's no word in my language for wish. And there's no word in my language for lie. But there's a word for truth, and I find that interesting. Because those words, hope, wish, try, lie, are constructs. You know, you can either hope for something or you can make it happen. And some words are given. We don't need to have a word for it. We just know that it is there. It's like our concept of God is maybe a little bit different. And the language I'm familiar with, we have two ways of expressing that. We can say Lachantanka, which literally means the great mysterious, or the great mystery, or we can say Tunkashara, which literally means grandfather. Or we refer to this earth as Kushimaka, or the grandmother earth. It literally means grandmother earth. Those are all terms of respect that we've been taught for generations, for about 10,000 years. You know, our songs are at least that old. They've been handed down from generation to generation. Even our prayers have been handed down from generation to generation. And we continue with those things because we know they work. We see the results of those actions. I've been asked to talk today about a Native perspective on the environment. I think I'm going to expand that just a little bit, because Natives don't have a corner on anything. We've just been here longer. But wherever the Europeans came from, they've been there just as long or longer. Every single body of water on this earth, from the smallest pond to the greatest ocean, is polluted. And sometimes beyond being able to fix it, like the Indian River Lagoon, where I live. And do you know why that is? It's your fault. It's not the government's fault. It's not something that's just happened. It's your fault. Every one of us has contributed to the world, the earth being polluted. And that's based in, let's put that, y'all get used to me just going off in this other direction here from time to time. Part of it is that the human animal is the only animal that can experience greed. We're the only animal that can express dishonesty. We're the only animal that dirties our own nest and doesn't connect. It's our fault. And I'm just as guilty as you are. Because we get so caught up in whatever we call life that we don't pay attention that there are other lives around us who are also just as dependent on this environment as we are. And that we have a relationship with all those other aspects of our environment. In my language, we have a term, mitakiwasin, which literally means all my relations, or we are all related. And when you stop and think about the truth of that, what you have to think about is, what is this relationship I have? What is my relationship with a tiger? What is my relationship with an elephant? What is my relationship with this oak tree out here? Some of you may already know that, because that tree and I use proper grammar, I love that. That tree and I have this symbiotic relationship. The tree breathes in carbon and breathes out oxygen. I breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon. We need each other. There's that relationship there. I need the elephant. Because without the elephant, what else would not be here? How many of you have pets? And how many of you anthropomorphize those pets? They become like a family member. You give them human qualities. I wonder if they're insulted by that. You know, it's like, why would I want to make my pet human? Bless their hearts. So one of the things that I'm about is, what can I do? What can you do that will start the process of doing whatever we can to reverse this trend of polluting our environment, our nest? Because regardless of what Elon Musk says, we don't have any place else to go. This is it. This is your home. And we're rapidly destroying it. You know, and part of that comes down to that when you start to think, humans don't like to be inconvenienced. We just don't. Okay? And that's part of the problem. How many of you would be willing to give up buying gas for 1 week just to get those prices to come down and make them find another alternative source of energy? Bless your hearts. Thank you for raising your hands. Or when you look at the 370 million people that occupy this country, how many of them do you think would do that? I'm going to pay this $4 a gallon because I need to go to the beach. I have to go shopping. Or I have to do this, or I have to do that. And when you think about how humans tend to be somewhat self-centered, even in our grief, we become self-centered. Yeah. When we lose a loved one, how many of you have ever stopped to think? Because all I hear when we lose a loved one is, oh my God, I don't have this anymore, I don't have them anymore, I miss them, I. I wonder how many times they stop, I wonder how they're doing. Do they miss me? Are they okay where they are? You know, we're just into what I don't have anymore. It's the same with how we're destroying our environment and thusly and destroying ourselves is we get the eye syndrome, we get eye problems, we get very nearsighted, very nearsighted. So I have glasses for that problem. Maybe we can start developing some farsightedness a little bit. Be willing to look into the future. I was talking to my grandson the other day, and we were talking about futuristic thing. You know, he's going to be 12 next month, and what a wonderful! I remember being 12. No, I don't. That was like almost 100 years ago. But we were talking. He says, "Grandpa, you think about the future?" Well, yeah, I do. And he said, "But you're old." So I took his ice cream. You know, in 2 months I'll be 76 years old. You know, that's almost a century. It's 3/4 of a century anyway. But I still project. You know, I'm one of those people. My mind will go, "Oh, well, you're like 35 years old. Do that. Don't do that." But my body says, "Pull my beard." I'll show you. And sometimes I even listen. You know, sometimes I go, "Okay, I won't do that right now." But see, my body hears the right now. And it goes, "No, not even next week or next time." The whole point is that sometimes we all exist within a realm of limitations, whether it's physical limitations, emotional limitations, mental limitations. It doesn't matter. But within that realm, you are unlimited. Unlimited. And when you get to one of those boundaries, that realm, you can make a choice then to expand it if you wish, to push it further, make it bigger. You know, and that's the really neat thing about when we're talking about the environment, we've closed ourselves in so tightly. How many of you, just this past week, thought about the polar ice caps melting? The polar ice caps melting. You thought about that?
Yes.
What did you do? Cried, said some thoughts and prayers. Yeah, about that. Who asked that? You answered that. What could you do? That was the You don't know. All right. Start with something really, really simple. Oh, yeah, and let me give you my address. Call, write, join. Call your congressman, write your senator. Join groups that are focused on the environment. These ladies here today have some petitions for you to sign.
That's different than the polar ice cap.
It is different than the polar ice cap, but it has to start somewhere, doesn't it? Take a stand, whether it's on abortion or whether it's the melting ice caps. Okay. One of the things we can do about the whole pollution thing is, how many of you unconsciously drive along the road, put something out of your window?
Never.
Not one of you.
Never.
I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. How many of you, when you're not losing certain things in your house, will turn them off, like lights, ceiling fans? Well, I'm talking to it. I'm too
You
know
who you're talking to?
I'm sorry?
Do you know who you're talking to?
I didn't, but I do now. Don't be afraid to join. Don't be afraid to stand up and speak out. One of the things I post frequently on my page on Facebook is speak, even if your voice trembles. Stand up and refuse to sit down, even if your legs shake. Speak your truth, even if you're fearful. What's the worst thing that could possibly
Did you ask what's the worst thing that could
happen?
happen? Nothing.
Exactly. And isn't that our biggest fear, that nothing, that nothingness? Well, what if I do all this and nothing happens? I can promise you unconditionally that that will never happen. Something will happen. So, you know, you stop and think about when you breathe in and when you breathe out, that breath you breathe out goes on forever. And your very immediate environment is changed forever with that breath. If I take a breath in and my voice comes out, my voice is going to continue to echo throughout the universe forever. And that was a hard concept for me to grasp onto when I was younger. That, you know, I won't even remember what I said 30 minutes from now. That doesn't matter. What matters is we're planting seeds. We're farmers. We're planting the seeds that will grow. And it's like when Barbara read that excerpt from my book, that we have left our children a horrible legacy. I'm thinking we collectively, not just the people here, but humanity. We've left our children a horrible legacy because of our own greed, because of our own ignorance. Because back in the 50s, when I was coming up, and the 40s and 50s, I was raised on a farm / ranch. We almost instinctively knew that you better take care of this earth, this ground, because it won't produce if you don't. But we didn't have all that fancy technology that we have today. And I think sometimes technology has contributed its own dollar toward the destruction of the city. Because how many of you in here right now have a cell phone? Does anyone not have a cell phone? How many of you have left your house more than once without that phone? Bless your hearts.
Put it by design.
They're going to yell at us. You know what frustrates me so very much is when everyone in this room is on board with you. But really, what do we do? Because I spend an enormous amount of time just looking for groups that have any activity, like those women proactive bikini, and brought with them the petitions. So often I hear, what are you doing? I can't do anything by myself. I can write to my congressman. He doesn't give a crap. I already know that. Why am I going to waste my time? What I don't understand is when we have so many people that want to make a change, why we're not getting together once a week to initiate that. We get together once a week to go to church. We get together to go to our family's dinner once a week. But there is no, unless I'm wrong, no organizations that are active every single week. Come here, we're doing this week, and this is what we're all going to do.
Good point. Good point. Did anyone not hear her? Okay, good. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know why people don't want to get together once a week, once a month, whatever. And
Once a month isn't enough.
Yeah, you're right. Once isn't enough. You know, for about 6 years, I belonged to a group of people. There's about 15 of us, and we walk the roads picking up trash, and we walk the beaches picking up trash every Saturday.
We do it all the time. It doesn't change the world.
I'm not asking you to change the world.
I'm asking you to help me change the world.
I hear that. I hear that. I'm not asking you to change the world as the globe that it is. What I'm asking you to do is to change your world, which then that will begin to, it's like dropping a pebble into the...
Right, but what I'm telling you is this whole group does all of that. I listen to these people all the time of all the things that they're doing so...
And what I'm telling you to do is to carry that word away from this building.
It's what? We do. We completely
Get involved
do.
with your communities, get involved with your cities, get involved with your states, get involved with that. And I'm aware when I came here today that I am preaching to the choir. At the same time, from a Native perspective, everything that I do individually affects everything around me. I talked about the breath, the word, the sound, the vibration. You know, I mean, on my Facebook page, I'm preaching all the time. Okay, either the Walking with Wisdom group or my own personal page. And I have a list now of about 30 of names that I've been called. Snowflake being the most complimentary of them. Some of them I can't speak in public. And I always respond to those things and I thank them. I say, thank you. And do you mind if I use that at some point? That was really inventive. I like that. Okay. It's like, if I refused to be intimidated, if I refuse to let anything stop me, then that's where the problem is. I hear your frustration. Okay, and I share that to some degree. What can I, just this one little tiny person, do? But I've discovered over the last 10 or 15 years, you can make a great difference. This isn't the only place where I come and speak. Okay, I speak all over. And now this other group has encouraged me to start a YouTube channel and just talk. That terrifies me. Actually, when I was sitting here this morning and thinking about what in the world are we going to say, it dawned on me that I've spoken to groups as small as 5 people, and I've spoken to auditoriums of 3,000 to 4,000 people. Regardless, I always feel that moment of terror just before I stand up. My mouth gets dry, my tongue sticks to the roof of my mouth, and my mind goes absolutely whiteboard blank. But I have this trust, and I want you to listen to this. I don't know what your beliefs are, and it's none of my business what your beliefs are. But what I do is just before I stand up, I breathe a prayer. And I go, God, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about today. I have no idea what to say. So I'm going to give you my voice and my tongue and my mouth and just say whatever needs to be said. Nor do I edit. Whatever comes out my mouth, that's what you're left with. Because honesty is a really weird thing when you stop to think about it. How many people in here think you're honest? You're honest people. Don't be afraid, raise your hand.
All the time.
Thank you. Thank you. We're all honest people, and we're all, want to engage in honesty and truthfulness and be somewhat altruistic about some things, but we're not always. There's been times when I've tried to think of 100 excuses not to go somewhere, not to do something, when there really was no valid excuse not to go. I just didn't want to go. But I didn't want to hurt the person's feelings either. So it's like, it's funny, I just say, I can't make it today. Why not? I'm lazy. I don't want to make it. And people go, that's why you're not coming to visit me, you're lazy. But yeah, that's my only excuse today is that I'm lazy. But we all get there from time to time. And somehow, how is this relevant to the environment? Well, think about it. I hear a lot of energy back here. Why don't we get together and do something, do something, do something? But at the same time, I see other expressions that says, next month. I'll do it because I'm so busy right now. I'm so busy right now, I can't do that right now. Yeah, you can. How much is 5 minutes out of your entire life? I've been here for 76 years, and you know how much time I've wasted in that 76 years? Okay. Come on. The only thing that used to make me angry is when they preempted my favorite TV show for some stupid sports game or some politician who wants to talk. And I remember my daughter asked me, she said, Dad, is Why don't you do something else? I went, no, I want to see my TV show. But when you get older, you know, you can do things like that. You can say, you can be grumpy if you want. Because how many of you here have raised children and have grandchildren? And how many here think that having grandchildren is like better? Okay. Think about those grandchildren. Because both of my children are way adults, okay? They're way up there in age. They have their own children. Now I have 4 grandchildren. If my grandchildren are getting older, the one is going to be 12. And I was just changing his diapers last week. Keep in mind that you do have a legacy. You certainly do, besides your life insurance policy or whatever, your estate, whatever, you have a legacy. And your legacy, your real legacy is who you are inside yourself. Who are you? What do you see your relationship as to the greater environment? What is my relationship to Tim? Did I get that right?
You did.
I remember the name. What is my relationship to her, to him, to you? What is my relationship to you? Oh, that's not a rhetorical question. I want an answer.
We're the same tribe.
Are you Choctaw?
I could be almost anything.
I see. Okay. So, okay, besides that, what is our relationship to each other? I'm sorry? We share the earth. Anything else? Okay. Maybe the ultimate relationship that we have is, going back to that phrase in my language I uttered earlier, mitakia asin. You're all my relatives. But when we say that, mitakia asin, we're also including the 4-legged people, the swimming people, the crawling people, the flying people, the standing people, the trees. Right? Those are also my relatives. We share a lot of genetic material and information with each other. That tree's made out of the same dust that I'm made of. And science is also beginning to see evidence and some proof that those trees actually communicate with each other. They talk about you. They have their own gossip circles.
We've read the books.
Yeah. So, and I have these 2 wonderful oak trees. I have this thing about oak trees. Maybe in my last life I was a druid, I don't know. But every morning when I go out for my meditation, my prayers, I also go to each of those oak trees and I say, I am so sorry if I did anything to hurt you. And I say that out loud. You know, of course, I have neighbors and I have relatives who think I'm just crazy and take on a snowball. You're talking to a tree? I'm like, yes. I'm talking to the tree. But I'm also listening. Because everything that exists has a language. And if you endeavor and listen, you will be able to understand that language. How many have heard the wind in the trees? How beautiful is that music? That's their song. Learn to sing it. Learn to sing it. And then share that. Because if I'm really lucky, maybe I'll have a great grandchild that I can share this with. Because my grandson, right now, the one I always talk about, I call him the Buddha. Because I am thoroughly convinced that he came into this world as a bodhisattva, as a Buddha. He's got great wisdom, even for such a young age that he is. And so I teach him. Even my own kids, even them, when we're at home, I speak to them in both languages. I'll say something in English and then I'll immediately follow it up with my native language. At the same time, I have pictures of my grandson, and he's just out at my shrine, you know, also talking with the Buddha. You know, and we can share those things with our children and our grandchildren. We don't have to put it in a religious context. We don't have to put it in a political context. We can basically just make it a conversation. I rarely, if ever, use the word God. I always say the creator of all things, or the great mystery, when I'm talking to my children. And they respond to that. Because our society today has almost been taught to not like God. You know? Not so much atheistically, but just, who is this? Okay, what is he all about? So I don't use that term, because it's just a title anyway. I mean, nobody knows his name. I suspect it's Owen, but, well, when you hear people go, oh God, I'm like, oh, Owen. Or it could be Orville, I don't know. But the whole point is that you don't have to believe in anything except you. If you believe in you, then you're already connected to something beyond you now, aren't you? And that's the whole point, is to get connected to something beyond me, this greater environment. You thought I got off track, didn't you? This greater environment that we all share and live in. Begin to strengthen your connection there. You'd be surprised at how much change you can affect just with your energy. Just by putting your energy out there. I mean, scientists already learned that if you talk to your plants, they do better. Yeah. And I grow bonsai, so I'm always talking to my trees. Yeah. Be healthy, little guy, be healthy. You know, some of my trees I've had for almost 40 years. So they're fully grown mature trees. That is one of my connections to my greater environment. See, when you think about the universe and the vastness of the universe, and then compare yourself to that vastness, we would seem almost insignificant, wouldn't we? However, on that great circle of life, on that great circle of the universe, you are just this one small cog on that great circle. But your presence there is absolutely necessary. If you were not there, that circle wouldn't function as well. They would have a cog missing. Those of you who are familiar with mechanics and stuff like that, if a cog's missing, things aren't going to work right. You are important. You are necessary to me and to each other. So I think my time is just about up, isn't it? Okay. I get carried away sometimes. So just take this with you today if you don't take anything else with you. I am not powerless. I can be an army of one. My voice can make a difference. And my energy is inexhaustible. Take that with you. So thank you for listening to me. I love you. And have a good rest of the day.
Thank you, Will.